This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Jeff Carice Carlson from St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Iowa City. Jeff, nice to have you here.
Thank you, Dennis.
And the church has a fascinating series of musical events, all surrounding, someone, kind of an unlikely figure, Fred Rogers.
Yes, we were inspired last year by the documentary that came out by Morgan Neville, Won't You Be My Neighbor? It reminded us all that Mr. Rogers, who died in 2003, really had a message over the 35, 40 years he was in public broadcasting that resonates as much today as it resonated at his time. In our time of political division and incivility, Morgan Neville really helped us remember what Fred Rogers has always told us about how we should be acting towards each other, the type of neighbors that we should be, the type of neighborhood we should build. So we decided to try to bring that message back to our members. Fred Rogers also, which a lot of people didn't know, was an ordained Presbyterian minister. He was never behind the pulpit in a church, in a congregation, in a conventional sense. His ministry, he was directly commissioned to have a children's ministry on that newfangled technology called television. And as a result, he did it better than anyone else. We wanted to bring that message not only to our church, but to the community as well. And because his message went beyond any one denomination or even one religion within this. So we have 4 days worth of events, basically. We're starting on Thursday, the 25th, at the end of the month, rewatching that documentary. We say we have plenty of popcorn and plenty of Kleenex that will be on hand because it does get everyone a little verklempt when they watch. We then, for most interest to your readers, are bringing in a jazz quartet.
Because Fred Rogers, and this is a part that a lot of people did not know, was a pianist.
He was a pianist. He had a degree in musical composition. And more importantly, he brought some of the best jazz musicians of his day onto his show.
Growing up, you would see a Dizzy Gillespie or Herbie Hancock on Mr. Rogers, and, you wouldn't really ever think about it. But now, looking back and looking at the number and quality of the musicians that he brought onto the show, yeah, he knew his music.
You could see the teenage Marcellus family on his show, and Johnny Costa, the longtime pianist that he had working with him, was, again, just watching the videos of him, was one of the most fabulous pianists around. So we are bringing in the Keri Johnsrud and Kevin Bales Quartet. They completed an album last year called Beyond the Neighborhood, the music of Fred Rogers, and kind of picking up on the legacy of Fred Rogers even before that documentary came out.
So this is music that he composed?
This is all music that he composed. You would think that they'd be simplistic tunes written for a children's audience, but as Johnny Costa and all the musicians over the years have found, that the music is deceptively simple, that there's a lot of sophistication at the heart of it. And when you hear quality musicians take those, that they are more standards. They're more, and when I say standards, they're more songs for the ages than they are songs for the children. So.
Did he write most of the instrumental music, or incidental music for the show, or any of it? Do we know?
He wrote a lot of the songs, and then the incidental music, I think, came with collaborations with Johnny Costa and others as they were figuring out stuff together. But he set the musical vision for the show, and all of those passages that we remember for those of us who were young enough to watch Mr. Rogers growing up, or as we sat with our kids watching it. We also, with the quartet, Dick Watson, a local jazz musician, a pianist, a member of St. Andrew as well, will be opening for them. And he is going to be focusing on some of Johnny Costa's arrangements and other things within that for the opening. So it makes sense to us to have a Johnny Costa-themed opening act for a Fred Rogers-themed main course.
So you're going to show the documentary on Thursday, the 25th. Concert then the next night?
The next night, Friday, the 26th. All these events will be at our new building, which is at 140 Gathering Place Lane. Now, nobody knows that. That's a brand-new street. So it's near the intersection of Melrose Avenue and Highway 218. So on the west side of town.
Oh, all right. Okay.
And the musicians, the quartet, will be coming back on Saturday morning from 10 until noon and doing a master class in jazz arrangements, basically answering the questions of how did you take these tunes and come up with such fresh arrangements of them? What are the difficulties of that, and what are the benefits and the fun of it?
And just let me jump in here to talk about master classes for a minute, because that term, I wish there was a better term for that, because it sounds very intimidating. It's a master class. I have to be an expert to go in, but really what it is a chance to, get to know the musicians a little bit. And even if you don't play an instrument at all, attending a master class and getting to listen to a musician talk about their process and deconstruct some of their songs is a fun experience. And obviously, if you have a student or are interested in music yourself and want to come, and sometimes there'll be a chance to play along and jam a little. So bring your instrument or just bring your mind.
Right. It will be the master has more to do with who's presenting than who's allowed to come.
Yeah.
So we also on Saturday will be bringing in Maxwell King. He right after that documentary came out, there was the first full-length biography of Fred Rogers' story, who's coming. He is a former editor of the Philadelphia Eagle, and he's the current president and CEO of the Pittsburgh Foundation. He worked on this biography for 7 years, working closely with Fred Rogers' widow and the family and others at the Fred Rogers Center. And with some support from the Iowa City UNESCO City of Literature and some other people, we're able to bring him in to talk to us more about Fred Rogers' life and legacy.
Wow. Well, you really have come up with a great variety of events
We're
to
pretty excited.
Celebrate his life.
Yes.
Yeah, very fun. And all in your new space.
All in our new space. And it's a chance to see our new space, as well as just to remember a very important figure in American history. We like to call him the most well-known and beloved Presbyterian minister in U.S. history, but it's only because most people don't know he's a Presbyterian minister. So.
Now, are any of these events ticketed?
They are all open and of no cost to the community. They are, of course, not free, so we will be taking a free will offering. But yes, people can come and at no charge.
So Thursday night, the documentary.
Thursday night, the documentary.
Friday night, the concert.
Yep.
And masterclass on Saturday, and then
we hear from the biographer on Saturday night.
Okay.
As well. And then those nighttime activities are all at 6:30. And then the one exception is the 10 o'clock a.m. masterclass.
Okay. I assume the church has a website if people want more
information. The church has a website, St. Andrew -ic.gov. If you .org, excuse me. If you just Google St. Andrew Presbyterian Mr. Rogers, it'll pop up.
Okay. Jeff, thanks so much for being here, and hope you have good attendance for all these events and celebrate the life of a great man.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most Thursdays and Fridays at 10:20, or download the video podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule using your favorite podcast catcher or at kcck.org/culture. I'm Dennis Green.